Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 17. This goes fast, this one. Lilywhite Lounge. We are back after 1 week off. Did we record last
think it was
week?
a
Can't
week.
remember. But I am joined by my usual co-host, Gus. Gus, how are you doing?
Could be better. Snowed in, got like 3 feet of snow. Spurs suck. Transfer window's been awful. Drew to Burnley. Could be better. How are you?
I'm good. Is it snowing all over America?
Oh my God, it's terrible. We got 2 feet of snow on Saturday, and then it dumped another foot Monday night. Was last night, yeah. Freezing cold too. Usually when we get a snowstorm, it's like 25 degrees, 20 degrees. It's like single digits. It's supposed to get negative a few days this week. I haven't, like, all weekend I didn't leave the house, so I'm cooped up. I'm cozy.
Yeah, so what happens? Like, do people just stop working and stuff?
I live in any viewers that are, familiar with New York area, Syracuse gets the most snow in the country. So we're very used to dumps of snow. We've had like 4 feet in a day before. We're very used to getting a lot of snow. So a lot of people have like trucks, 4-wheel drive, very used to getting around in the snow. But most of the time, if we get like a big snowstorm, people just kind of hunker down and hibernate for a week, let it melt, and then we're out and about again. I've been cozy as hell. I'm not complaining. I look forward to like late January snowstorms because I just watch movies, hang out with my cat.
Are you just alone?
Yeah, just alone. Yeah.
Do people like not go and try and see their friends, or like is that not really?
Well, if there's plans, we'll go through the snow soldier it and get out there. I know that during the Syracuse basketball had a game on Saturday during the snowstorm, and it got like a third of the. I mean, we sucked, but like it got like a third of the attendance that we usually do. So I think some people, if we're good at basketball or there's like a big event in town, like we'll get out and about, but we're very used to using the winter as hibernation time.
I see.
You guys got some snow, didn't you?
Nah.
No? Oh, no mind.
But maybe a tiny bit. I haven't. It doesn't settle here ever. I remember when I was like, in school, and like, I mean, primary school and secondary school snow days were very different. Primary school snow days were like just fun, like, and you were so excited because normally what would happen is like in the morning, the school would like announce if they were open or closed. And it's very rare they would close. But when they close, everyone would just go to the park and just like mess around. But
how much snow did you guys need to get for a snow day?
Not a lot. Not
like
a lot.
An inch?
Yeah, literally. In secondary
we need
school,
like 2 feet over here.
Oh, really?
2 feet, yeah, 2 feet of snow and they're closed. That's about that's about the average.
In secondary school, it was just like it would just basically, if it snowed, it just meant the older kids would just beat up the younger kids, and because it was snowing, it would start with like a snowball fight, and then you just like get beaten up. So that wasn't.
That's why I love the winter, man. Winter snow days as a kid were the best.
Okay, we're gonna have to speak about Spurs, unfortunately. First thing I want to touch on is obviously what I just had football. Open my phone straight after football. Porro's out for a month. Like flipping hell. It's just never ending. Like it's genuinely never ending, this injury thing. And it's like every injury at the moment is just like minimum a month. It's often 2 to 3 months. That's what they say. Yeah, looking at 2 to 3 months. But now it's looking like a month, which is, I mean, it's like we get O'Doggy back, and now Porro's injured. It's just like we can just never have a full team. To be honest, I think the board have a lot to answer for this injury. Like they have a lot to answer for. I mean, Porro has been overplayed for 2 years now, and he never gets injured, but his performance levels have dropped. Any competent board would just see the fact we've got a lack of numbers of fullbacks. That's one point. But also looking at Porro's performance levels, there's clearly an issue there. Not as him as a player, but obviously his performance levels have dropped. For me, big part of that is his overplaying, and like his mind looks tired. He's giving and a lot of like fatigue. I think sometimes is mental. Like a lot of the stupid decisions that he's making on the ball, I think he's not sharp like mentally because his body's tired. And now he's injured, which was only a matter of time. I just think this board is like they have so much to answer for that.
Yeah,
what's your kind of thoughts on the injury crisis overall?
They've ran multiple players into the ground. I mean, we saw it with Decky last year. Porro is one of those superhuman players. For 2.5 years, we had him, and he never got hurt. And to be honest, for a long period of those 2.5 years, his performances didn't drop too much. I think that the odd game he would get exposed defensively, or he would look weak mentally because of the tiredness and his body being worn down. But for a long time, we thought, and he was superhuman for staying fit. But I think that it's caught up to us. It's caught up to the board. We saw, we've complained for years and years how we had, 2 left footers, 3 left footers in defense. We're playing a right back at left back that really should be rotating with Porro. I think the board needs to answer questions. I think Frank for the Burnley starting 11 needs to answer questions. Why Tell wasn't starting at left wing and Spence at right back, I have no idea. Especially with Frankfurt tomorrow.
Oh,
makes
100%.
Literally no sense.
And also that this could easily have been, Spence injury or whoever else has ever played. But down to your bare bones, you have to use the squad at this point. Like, I just don't understand why he wouldn't play Tell in that game. There must be some kind of personal dispute. Even if you don't rate him, we've got 14 fit senior players. With Van der Ven gone now, it might be less. I don't know.
I think it's 14 players out.
So
14,
yeah,
I don't even know. I would have. It's like even. It's like
I remember looking at
yeah. Yeah, we have fit, and so no. I think the Tell decision on Saturday cost us. In the first half, we were playing Mickey at left back, he was basically playing left back. There was no reason not to start Spence at right back, Tell at left wing. We had Mwani available to play left wing as well. I know that he's kind of out of favor and probably is being, slowly phased out because of his performance and attitude recently, but someone needed to start at left wing instead of Spence. I just don't understand that. Porro's performances have been shocking this year because we play a system that he's not, suited for. We're not using his best attributes. We ask him to whip in 30 crosses a game. We ask him to bomb up and down the pitch, and often he's in a position where if he gives away the ball, we're exposed on the right side, and Romero has to cover. It reminds me a little bit of the way we used him under Ange in the second season. I just don't think that he was ever as sharp as he could be under Ange because of the board. We didn't have a backup right back. I mean, the creation of Spence left back was an Ange thing midway through the season because Destiny got hurt again and we had no left back, but we also had no right back. So it's been multiple seasons where it feels like we're plugging and playing players that aren't in their right position because the board's incompetent and doesn't know how to build a squad. And we can talk about squad building all day long, and we can talk about Porro's, disagreements with the fans or his inconsistent performances when he's tired. But I think it all lays at the feet of the board, and this most recent injury is on Frank, in my opinion.
100%. I mean, there's bigger problems, obviously, the board, but Frank has certainly not helped the situation. I thought actually one thing I actually quite liked about Frank's early tenure that I thought he rotated pretty well at the start. And I think what's happened is when he's gone under pressure, which a lot of managers do, they've gone more and more within themselves. They're more and more worried about oppositions, about things going wrong. And so he's becoming more and more set in his ways and set in the things that he wants. The Spence thing just makes no sense to me. I think he had a good game against Dortmund. He was good. He wasn't unbelievable. He was good at left wing. Whoever that I know that
Jan
right
Kuto.
back, Jan Kuto,
he's 5'6" too.
I put a tweet out being he has blood on his hands because he actually is. He's a bit like Porro. He's very, he's actually a good he's very good footballer. But Spence just overpowered him. It wasn't pretty but Spence would just breeze past him and just shove him out the way and it was just easy. And I think to think that okay, that worked. Now I'm going to play against Burnley, which is a completely different opposition. And you think that Spence is going to do that exact same thing to one of the most physical right backs. I know Kyle Walker's not what he was in terms of speed, but he's still absolutely massive. Like, he's a unit. And to think that Spence was like had the technical quality to beat someone like Kyle Walker, where he's not going to overpower him, which is what he did in the Dortmund game. So you're relying on more ability there. I just thought that was just a ridiculous decision. And then the rotation side of it, like, even if Spence was unbelievable, we had to rest players because we've got no players. But also the treatment of Tell, like, just on a personal level, like, you are burning a bridge. Like, the club need to realize that if they rate Tell, if they see a future in Tell, you're burning a relationship with a young player who you've spent money on, you've brought to the club, you left him out of the Champions League squad, you've brought him back into the Champions League squad, then you've left him out again, then you haven't even brought him in to play the Premier League game. Like, that's just bad treatment of a person in general, like, in my opinion. I know this is elite football, but it's not like he hasn't been having an impact in the games he's played as well. So for me, that I just don't like that treatment of a young player anyway. I just don't think that's how you handle young players in terms of trying to help them develop. Like, what kind of message does that send to someone? So that I just thought that was just bad treatment.
I can't believe the treatment of Tell, especially with the injuries that we have in the attacking part of our squad. It feels as if there is some personal beef that they have. I'm shocked that he hasn't found a consistent run of games in the Premier League yet. With the amount of injuries we have and him being left out of a Champions League squad, I agree with you that Frank's initial rotation seemed more effective and just better thought out than Ange. I think Ange had a little bit of a weirder squad than Frank does at first, initially, at the start of a season. But I think Frank's initial rotation was really promising. I was excited. The one thing I do want to mention about that is he still refused to rotate Porro. Like, at the beginning of the season, even when we were rotating players, he seemed to always want to play Porro, which every manager does because of the chances he creates and the emphasis on crosses, right? Frank wants his best crosser on the pitch. And I think that he looks devoid of any ideas when, like, we saw it when Porro got hooked, or, maybe got taken off because he was having some discomfort. But when he got taken off on Saturday, that right side, without Odegaard dragging us up the pitch a couple times and finally, sustaining some pressure in the last 20 minutes, that right side, you saw it. Burnley, regained control. They scored the equalizer and then scored the go-ahead goal. And that right side just looked devoid of ideas. And that's down to Frank. That's down to not having a plan B. I don't even know if he has a plan in general at this point. The treatment of Tell is just like kind of a microcosm of Frank. He doesn't seem to trust any of our young players. That he misprofiles them, plays them in weird positions, gives them weird responsibilities. Bergval's injury was a gut punch to me because it felt like we were starting to finally play him deeper, and he was great against Dortmund until he got hurt.
Only because we had no options.
Yeah, only because we had no options. And I feel like the managers we appoint and even the board sometimes, like, they'll see a moment where we're playing a player in their correct position, we're profiling him right, and he's playing well. And then as soon as that player that they're replacing comes back, or we make a signing that, is filling a different hole, all of a sudden that young player, the player that we're putting in that position, is now back in a misprofiled spot on the pitch. And I'm so confused at the structure and the messaging that our managers get every year, every season. What is the goal? What are we aiming for? I think this season I went into it, and I think we can go back to our first podcast. I went into this season thinking we're probably a mid-table team. We got 5 or 6 really important 18, 19, 20, or 21-year-olds that need to be developed. I don't care if we lose 12, 13 games and we're 10th or 9th. I don't need us to be in Europe next year. I would love Conference League. I think that would be great. But I was going into this year thinking this is a development year. Frank will play Archie, Bergval, Tell, Odegaard a lot, and they'll get a lot of really good experience in Champions League, and then we'll kind of rebuild in the next few windows. None of that has happened, mostly because Frank's afraid of playing these young players in their preferred positions or playing them at all. And it's just like a culmination of everything. I think that you probably agree that I'm just drained, man. I have no energy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think with what you said in terms of why Porro has been played so much is for sure because of his crossing ability and the fact he's always fit, but also because the way we've built this squad, man. Like, there's no players in the team that can pass a ball apart from him and Romero. So that's why he's so important. And if Frank has come in and thought, our best passer of the ball, how best do I utilize that? Let me just make him spam clips down the line. That's a wild way to use a technical passer to me, but whatever. And then on the Tell point, like, I want to be clear. I don't think Tell is anywhere near the finished article. I don't think Tell is showing levels that we've seen at this club from wide players, but the bar is so low at this point. It's really not like the Spence, like, even if you think Spence is a serviceable at left wing, which I really don't, he's not better than Tell at left wing. We can say that.
Hell
Even
no.
if you think Tell has been very poor, there's no way that Spence. So for me, that rotation is just like a silly. Like, I just don't. It's obviously
like
a personal
mood.
thing.
Like, what? No manager is gonna do that besides Frank.
No, and I think the main point with this is that, like, Frank has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. The more the pressure's lifted, the more he's shrunk to his risk averseness, if that's a word. And like his fear is just like taking over. And so it's funny because that Burnley game, it was almost like it looked like he thought, yes, like we got an equalizer. I'm just like, bro, like, do you understand what this club is like, where you're managing right now? Like, that is like, getting a point at Burnley is just not like, oh god. And the way he speaks, like, I really didn't think that I was going to end up hating him. Like, I thought that maybe like it just wouldn't work out, and like, I thought he was going to my kind of thought would be, so he was going to come in, he was going to steady the ship. I thought we'd actually have a pretty good season, and I thought we'd hit like a ceiling, and then it would be like, we need to take the next step. That's how I saw it going. I never thought that he's going to be the man to take us to trophies and stuff. I didn't ever think that, but I thought that he'd definitely improve us. But like, and so I thought, he'll leave on like a very important step for the club. Like, he'll do that kind of go between transition period, and we'll look back on it and we'll be like, that was a very important period to take us back to like where we want to be. And so I thought, there's no way I'm going to, bro, I hate him. Like, I actually hate him. Like, obviously not as a person.
I despise the guy. I despise him.
I don't know him as a person, obviously, so I can't comment on him as a person, but the way he views football is just like, it's like an illness, bro. Like, it's just like, I see every single quote that comes out and I'm like, I literally wholeheartedly disagree with pretty much everything that comes out of his mouth. Like, today he said something about Frankfurt. He
being
said,
good, having attacking patterns and knowing how they play.
Yeah, we've looked really into them. Like, we've got a really good plan for them, bro. Like, oh god, we're fourth. What were you, like, fourth or fifth in the Champions League table? Like, you go and have a game, or you dominate the game. Like, stop worrying about these basic teams. It's like he's setting up to play like different styles against this team because he's worried about this from Burnley and this from West Ham, and like, it's like, what is this? I just can't. I'm waiting. I'm just waiting now until he goes, and I think it's inevitable. But the next point I wanted to come on to is like, both in terms of sacking or not sacking Frank and transfer activity this month. It feels like, this is like the analogy I'm going to use. When you're playing like PS4 or Xbox and your controller disconnects, like, that's what it feels like has happened at the board. It's just like, they're not in the game. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, no transfers. Like, this, I thought this January they were going to be like, oh my god, like, look what's happening to our club. We need to, like, even if it was panic buys, I thought they're gonna be scattergun. They're gonna be like linked to this player, linked to that player, because it's like crisis. And it's just been silent. It's genuinely been silent. Like, we hijacked a Gallagher deal and we signed a young left back from Brazil. Like, that is like, And I know January window is difficult, whatever, but like there's definitely deals to be done, and all the links we've had are just to shit players, to be honest.
They're just recycled targets that we've seen for years and years.
No, it's just and then Frank just seems to every week just get a shit result, lose or draw. And then like I'm like, oh my God, he must be sacked now. I wake up and he's just still here, and I'm just like, wait. And I put a tweet out. You would have liked this one. I don't know if you saw it. But I was like, I feel like I'm in the Truman Show. I'm like,
yeah.
Is this just is everyone in on this? Like, because I'm like, I don't understand. I'm looking at it and I'm like, bro, how is this guy still at the club? Yeah,
I'm getting to the point where I don't really have words to describe how I feel. I was telling Henry, our producer, before we began, like, I genuinely don't know what's going on. I love your analogy of a controller disconnecting. It almost feels like we're playing like we're all in a COD lobby, and your best, the most effective player for a search and destroy or something is like his mic is muted and he's just standing there after the round restarted, and we're like, what's going on? Why are you moving? This is round 5. We need you. This feels like a breaking point, and we'll get into like, how to turn things around, and we really get is relegation in play, the remaining fixtures. But I genuinely think like everyone was talking about this after Burnley, that we've missed the window to sack him. We're now in a weird position where we're really good. No, I mean really good is subjective. Is subjective. Like we're really good in Champions League. Like we'll probably make it. We'll automatically qualify for round of 16, hopefully, if we can get a result tomorrow. And we're probably, we could play around with making a little run if we had an inspired interim manager. And obviously we got to worry about injuries and like the availability of players, but we get a little break before that round, and I think that we could make a little run, make it an interesting season. But now for the Premier League, we've got 4 incredibly hard fixtures. I think the only one in that 4, City, United, Newcastle, and Arsenal in order. But the only one in that 4 that's a possibility is Newcastle is trash away from home. We could probably get a result there. But we've missed that window to sack him before January starts, where we can let our targets know, it may be an interim that we're buying you for, but we'll have a new manager in the summer, and we're trying to turn things around and pitch it like that, right? I think a lot of players are willing to experience 6 months of an interim, knowing that they have good players around them, good players coming back from injury. But we've missed that window. So now, we talked about on our last podcast, it's really hard to sack a manager mid-window because targets are confused. They're like, who's going to be my manager? Who do I go to about, who do I talk to about playing time? And now we can't sign anyone because the board's incompetent and they're just recycling, pretty shitty targets, if we're being honest. And we're also in a position where you can't sack them before Frankfurt because of the implication going into these next 4 games. Like, do you just toss an interim or a caretaker into the mix for those 4, kind of torture fixtures, or what? And I've lost the words to describe what our board and our club is doing. Every day, like you said, every day there's a new quote from someone within the club or, an ITK, that, like the one this morning about the board being very scared of an interim. Like, how can it be worse? We have 7 wins in 26. I think it was, I have it open. I tweeted it right before we got on. Like, I genuinely had to do the math. 7 wins in 26, 4 wins in 17, 1 win in 7. Like, an interim cannot be worse. I'm sorry.
And what are you scared of? Like, what are you scared of? I don't. If
they're scared of paying him out. They don't want to pay out his contract. They're scared.
If you think we're going to get relegated with an interim, we're going to get relegated. Like, if that's what you think, we're going to get relegated with Frank or with an interim. Like, if that's how bad it gets, I promise you, Frank is not the one who's getting us out of relegation scrap. If it goes that bad, so it's just like and with like, in terms of that thing, in terms of missing the window, you're completely right. It's like, this should have been done months ago. He should have gone, maybe not months, 6 weeks ago, maybe 4 5
middle
weeks
of December.
Ago.
Yeah,
like the fact that he's still here now, and then the fact that you're right in terms of a January window. You can't really sack a manager in a January window, or like, because it just gets too. But it's like they haven't done either. So either get him targets because you're keeping him, whatever, like, or sack him and get targets that you like for the club long term. What they've done is they're like, oh, we probably don't think he's going to be, or we don't know if he's going to be here, so let's not buy him any players. But my thing is always like, your club should be buying players regardless. All the best clubs, the manager has nothing to do with the targets, or very little, maybe not nothing to do. They, depending on the club, like, managers obviously have a say, but signings are made often over the manager's head. At least some of them are. Look at Real Madrid. Like, I know that's a very extreme example, but Florentino Perez makes all those signings for Real Madrid, and the manager doesn't really matter because players are, at the end of the day, going to be the most important thing to success. There should be someone, and I think Langa's incapable. I don't know enough about how the setup is, but it seems like he's incapable. Either he's incapable or he doesn't have the power to build this squad. That is how you get back to the top. There's holes to fill in certain areas. I wouldn't say they're all over the pitch. I'd say there's major holes in certain areas of the pitch, and it takes not even an extremely smart man, but just someone who understands football to make those calls and sign the right players. And I think the point I wanted to make is, like, the best window we had, for me, in recent years was the Van de Ven, Madison, Vicario. Who's the other one?
Johnson too.
Johnson, Solomon, I think it was.
Yeah.
Solomon. And, like, the thing I liked about that window is how efficient we moved, and, like, how thought out it felt. Like, okay, we wanted Tapsoba, we couldn't get Tapsoba. Next one on the list, Van de Ven. Obviously, that worked out brilliantly. Again, we wanted Raya, couldn't get Raya, or didn't want to get Raya. Fine. I'm not bothered about the money stuff. If you don't want to pay a certain thing for, cool, just move on to the next target. Don't just neglect it. Have your positions you need. Go down a list. If this person's too expensive, cool, whatever. But make sure you sign someone. Don't just be like, oh, we can't afford that guy we want. We wanted him, we can't get him, so let's just give up. Like, I just don't get that thinking. So that is how I think you get back to the top, in terms of, you just need to build the squad better. You need to think forward, think in advance, think about how we prepare the squad for the rest of the season, but also for next season. My main concern at this point is, like, Udogie. I think he's absolutely fucked. If Porro's now out, he's gonna have to play midweek weekend. I don't know how many more midweek games. Well, we'll have a couple.
I mean, after Frankfurt, we'll have a little break, so
okay,
we'll be all right. Yeah.
But pray for Udogie, because that guy can't.
Oh my God.
Yeah. How would you, like, what are the key kind of points in your thinking of how Spurs not even get back to the top, but get back to the top half?
Yeah, getting back to mid-table at least.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to talk about that window that we were talking about. It was after Forest. I think after Forest, you sack him 3-0 against a relegation contender. Yeah, exactly. I blocked it out too. And then we had a somewhat spirited performance against Liverpool. 2 men get sent off. You know, we could have probably equalized, whatever. And then we beat Palace away, which was the game that if we lose, he gets sacked, in my opinion. And then we go draw, Champions League, and it kind of gets messy from there. But I think that, first of all, I mean, to get back to mid-table, I think there's not much we can do this window.
Not now.
With what? We got 4 days left. I think they extended the window to like the 3rd of February it ends, or something like that. So we have a few more days than just till the 1st, if I'm not mistaken. So, obviously we need a progressive passer. We need someone.
We haven't had quality. One link. Well, Curtis Jones,
and Alex Garcia.
Yes,
which was
ITK though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an ITK. I don't know if that was a legit link. Yeah, we need a progressive passer, someone with technical quality, just any quality. So I think experience in the middle is needed, but experience that kind of links our defense and our attack, and is a presence that we can rely on to show for the ball and to be active progressively in the middle of the park. I think that no more runners. We're done with runners. That's our first step. And I think we can get that done this window. I don't know who really is available. I haven't seen very many. This window's kind of been slow for everyone.
Yeah, I haven't seen much.
Yeah, there's not been much movement. I think last January with like City bought like 4 or 5 players. We were pretty active. Was probably the most I've seen in a January window move, but I haven't seen very many midfielders move.
With that, in terms of, I do think Premier League clubs often kick off the window. Like it's a ripple effect, right? Because Premier League is the one with the money. If a Premier League club goes and spends big on this player, that club then, who is it? Stuttgart then needs to find a replacement. So they might go get one from Belgium, and then so it's just like it just starts moving. Like, and City, I think, did that often. Like they spent big, and then you often overpay if you want to if you want someone in January, you're gonna have to overpay. But cool, just go and overpay. Like, and don't overpay out of panic. Overpay for someone that you know is actually going to be part of the squad
that you've been targeting for years.
Exactly.
Not even targeting for years, because that's where we get caught up with our board and our scouting structures. Often I feel like targets get stuck in the cog, and it's like the only thing that we focus on. And you can scout a player for years and then, okay, they've gotten too old, or they're not good enough anymore, or they're too expensive.
Filled it with another player. Like, yeah.
Right. Have a profile in mind. I think going back to what you were saying about having philosophy and having managers obviously having a somewhat of a sign off on players, but that the board and our scouting department and our recruitment has some sort of philosophy. And that's what we lacked under Levy. Certain seasons, like the first summer with Ange, I think that we had the structure and we had the scouts to find these players and have a list. We were lucky that the players that we were targeting, Levy was able to sign off on. That was the tricky part, and where a lot of anger came from is I feel like we did have a good scouting structure and a philosophy, but targets would be too expensive, and then Levy would, throw them off to a side and look at lesser, more Levy club targets that are cheaper. This is all fan perspective, right?
Yeah.
So I think that creating a philosophy where the scouting department and the board and somewhat the manager is on the same page of, this player is a hole that we need to fill and that we've needed to fill for a while. So like we always talk about progressive passers, someone with technical quality in the middle of the pitch that can spray the ball multiple different ways. That's important. And then I think just get back to the top is we need a healthy squad. I can't remember the last time we've started our best 11.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely can't remember. Even like towards the end of Europa, we were missing our 3 most creative midfielders. No way in the last season with Ange we had a healthy squad. I think maybe at the very beginning, and at the very beginning of his first season, we had a healthy squad, and that was like our best 11. So I mean that's something that's going to happen over time, and that happens with a board that wants to add depth and quality to back up our starters. But in general, I think these next, how many months we have left in the season? 4, right? These next 4 months, what we should be doing is winning the games we should be winning with an interim that has a positive kind of dominant approach that wants to take the game by its, the scruff of its neck and say, this is mine and we're going to win this game. We win the games and we can go through the fixture list. There are some winnable games to get to the 40-point mark that, is going to save us. And I don't think relegation is really in play. We could talk about that a little bit more, but to get back to a point where we know there are games that we are going to win and being confident and bringing some confidence back into the squad is really important because, I think a lot of people have some really good points about the psychology behind last season and how it really does affect the way that players look at certain fixtures. And when you lose, 23 games in a Premier League season, when you're used to losing maybe 14 or 15, it can, in a bad season, you can start to really believe that your squad and your club isn't good enough. And it can, kind of proliferate amongst even the more confident players. And I think you saw that with a little bit of Kudus towards the end before he got hurt. I think that he's usually a very confident player, at least internally, but what we were asking him to do and the conditions we put him in were just draining him of all energy and creativity, and there in turn he decided to go even more hero ball than he's used to. So to bring some confidence back into the squad, interim's going to help that. Finding a creative kind of deep lying playmaker is going to help. And then filling the holes. I think that we probably need a right wing more than a left wing, but any winger that can score goals. I'm all over Lookman. I can't believe anyone is turning their nose up at Lookman. Just throw Atalanta 40 million euros and call it a day.
See,
I don't care if
a
he has a
no-brainer.
little bit of attitude problems. He's a bagsman. He's going to score for us.
Yeah.
And
also,
got killer instinct.
His attitude thing is overplayed in my eyes. It's like, I think he's wanted to come back to the Premier League for a long time and he's been priced out of a move. That's basically what's happened. I think he's obviously from London. I think his idea was probably long term to go out to Syria and then return to England. And he's been kind of priced out. And he's obviously he hasn't been happy at Atlanta for a while. And I don't doesn't mean he has a bad attitude. And also continued to score goals while he's been unhappy. So where's the bad attitude there? Yeah, I think, and bear in mind, he hasn't been great this season in terms of numbers, but his performance levels have still been good this season, and he's gone to AFCON and whatever. Yeah, I think you're right in terms of the interim is not even it's just bringing in someone with us just to perform at the level our team is at. It's not like overperform. If we win the games that we have the talent to win, that's all that needed. It's not like I'm even expecting a Michael Carrick, who comes and wins those major games. Just come here and beat Burnley and West Ham and Nottingham Forest. That's not asking for too much. And I know people still say to me, this squad is of the same level as West Ham. I promise you, it's not. It's not a West Ham level squad. I don't think it's an amazing squad, but it's way better than what it's showing. I can't stress that enough. Yeah, and then the other thing for me, which the last little bit of complaining I want to do about the club, but the left back thing they're doing is just it's wild to me. So this Souza guy who's come in, the Brazilian kid, there's lots to like there, I think, but he's raw. He's 18. He's had half a season in Brazil, I think, at senior level. People have already kind of written him off. I like parts of his game. I think he's quite a chaotic player. He's definitely not refined. So that, I think, either the club are just doing some weird stuff, or that is the same way we bought Vuskovic, the same way we bought Bergval. There's not really a plan there. It's just they're a talent, just buy them, which I don't hate. If you have the right, if you're going to loan them out and stuff, and just try and raise their value, and if they're good enough, they come into the squad, and if not, they get sold for profit. That's all fine with me. But if they are signing him because we have a left back problem, and then they want to go and get Robertson as well. First of all, 3 left backs in one squad. What? That doesn't make sense. So I assume Souza will be going out on loan.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's if you are just going to buy both of them, why don't you just buy one who's good? You've got one here who's nowhere near ready, who's 18. You've got one here who's, in my eyes, I think Robertson's been washed for 2 years. I don't think he's great anymore. I think he was an absolutely unbelievable fullback, but so much of his game was built off intensity, and being first to everything. Those that in that Klopp team, he would just win everything. So intense in terms of pressing, up and down that flank, crazy athlete. And I think, as for most players in that system, would tear your legs off. You looked at Fabinho, I think was a great example. He just fell off a cliff because that Klopp system was so demanding. And I think Robertson has done that for a while. And I think his intensity and his athletic ability covered for a lot of his technical deficiencies. I don't think he's bad technically, and he was a very good crosser. He 100% was a great crosser. But in terms of his possession play and his play in kind of the approach, it wasn't amazing. His kind of role was get around the winger and put in crosses. And you had Trent coming much more, getting involved with the build up and stuff. And I think sometimes people don't realize that Kyle Walker, at Spurs was a very advanced fullback. At City, who's a bit more reserved, but as soon as his athletic ability went, there's not really a player there, which is fine. Some players are relying on their athletic abilities, but to buy that and then a completely untested 18-year-old as this is our left back cover, instead of just signing someone who can provide competition for Udogie, which should happen anyway. But the fact that Udogie's so injury prone as well, like just go and sign a 24-year-old who's just ready. Like that just doesn't make sense.
I think that we'll see tomorrow what a left back that we should sign looks like. Like, I think Nathaniel Brown's an interesting one because like I haven't seen him being linked to anyone this window, and at the start of the window,
I think Real Madrid just before the window maybe.
Yeah, they were looking at him, and I know City were interested, and you know the big clubs were feeling it out. Frankfurt are awful.
Yeah,
you know they don't need him like they
just
would if
manager, right?
They sacked their manager. They're looking at options right now. They're not doing well in the Bundesliga. They're like not going to make knockouts. They've already been eliminated in Champions League. They're not playing for much all season, the rest of the season. So what's the harm in throwing 45 million euros, 50 million euros at Frankfurt for Brown? You know, there is no harm, especially with the kind of structure that we put in place when it comes to, you know, panic buying players. It seems like when a player becomes available that we've targeted, which I don't know if we've ever really officially targeted Brown, but I'm sure we've scouted him. We've played him twice already. What if we're panic buying like Gallagher or Robo, like why can't we panic buy someone like Brown?
I know, that's what I was thinking about the other day. Yeah, it's like we only have an emergency buy badly.
Yeah, and then sometimes when that emergency falls through, we fall into a good purchase.
Yeah,
like Xavi and Eze.
Yeah,
you know, and things like that.
I think that's the other thing that kind of frustrates me with the club when they get a good player, but I'm like, your process in doing that was fucking way off.
Like I can't even clap that. Like, you guys fucked your way into it.
Exactly, and that's like if they go and now sign like a good player on emergency deadline day, I'm like, yeah, but like, did you even mean to do that? Like, you just stumbled into that, which isn't like the fact that I don't want us to. Obviously, I'm happy that we've got a good player, but in terms of like projecting the future, it doesn't fill me with confidence when the players that get brought into this club seem to be like lucky. When we fall on a good player, it just seems to be luck. Like we signed Porro for a wing-back coach, for example. Not that Porro's been great this season, but then he's now, you know, he's a deep part. Like these are just like, you know, and obviously you sign players who are good players, but like, you know, Bergvall, just a random kind of punt on a talented teenager. Great. I really like that strategy. It's not like we kind of really had a plan to integrate him necessarily, or like, it just feels very like good players just happen to end up at Spurs by chance, really. The only kind of one I would kind of say that made, like, Odegaard made sense at the time. And I think, like, Levy, for all his faults, like, under Ange, there was some good signings there. Like, there were, like, even look at Brennan Johnson. Like, I know that didn't work out, but I think for the time, I think we'd look back on that as like an okay, he was very frustrating, but like an okay deal. Overpay, of course, but like a player that contributed to the club. But yeah, it feels scattergun. It feels opportunistic. Like I saw, obviously the Lookman one, which we discussed, that's an opportunity. That's like a jump at an opportunity signing. That won't get done because it just like makes too much sense. The other one I saw is John Duran, which I just love that guy.
That would be hilarious.
He's just so fun, but I just feel like adding him to the chaos that we already have would be manic. But I would love to watch that guy in my club. The last thing I want to say, actually, did you see the Kolo Muani Odegaard crash?
Oh my god, yeah, I did.
Like, this is not. I'm not laughing at the crash itself. Yes. Obviously, that's I mean, they look all right, so I think they are all right. But apparently Odegaard and Kolo Muani were in two different cars, and someone in my group chat was like, it would be so Spurs if Kolo Muani crashed and then Odegaard crashed into him. But I think what actually happened is Odegaard just got out his car and sat with them, which is very
Kolo Muani got in the crash and Odegaard was driving behind him.
Kolo Muani's facial expressions.
I saw that.
Just like
he's having a terrible month, man.
Yeah,
like
he hates it.
Kolo Muani. I mean, this is a season from hell for him. He was hoping to make the France World Cup team. He came to Spurs and had a few good performances. Had his revenge game against PSG. In between all that, he's been shit and not making that World Cup team. I mean, it was an uphill battle to begin with. I don't think that he was a shoe-in for a spot in that team. But yeah, no, he is not doing himself any favors. I did see that tweet, and I initially saw like the windshield was cracked in Cole Milani's car, and someone's comment was like, looks like he wasn't wearing a seatbelt and cracked his head on the windshield. So at first I was like, oh no, this is awful, like this could be a really bad injury, and like that's really scary. And then Frank said they were both fine, and so I started to read through the replies and started laughing at some of the things, and I saw a bunch of them that were like, it would only be Spurs if our players crashed into each other and got each other hurt before a Champions League game when we have 14 players available.
Oh yeah, we haven't even touched on Van de Ven's injury, but I can't even bother to speak about that.
Yeah, I can't be bothered. He's gone all season without getting hurt. It would only be Spurs for him to get hurt when we need him for battling relegation.
Yeah, I do have a bit of sympathy for Kolo Muani. Like, I mean, he clearly doesn't want to be here, and I don't really rate that. Like, he should, but to be honest, he's played it like was at Frankfurt flying, got a 95 million move to PSG, playing amongst some of the best stars in the world. Obviously, didn't quite work out, but then went to Juventus, had an amazing season at one of the biggest clubs in the world. Joined Spurs. He hasn't been he had that weird. What did he have, like a jaw? No, he had a jaw injury after, but he had a weird like dead leg that went on for like 2 months.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
And then now he's in a relegation scrap, and he's and it's just like why would he care? He's on loan.
Yeah.
Because we don't own him. Like, why would he give a shit? Like, I don't like. It's just human nature to not care.
Yeah.
Which is like, don't play him. Cool, send him back, whatever.
But like, Juve, like have him have 4 months of glory at Juve, and
yeah,
hopefully they have enough money to buy him from PSG, so he can get
out
of that hellscape that is getting bought for 100 million and then benched because, I think there was some politics involved with him missing. I don't know if he was at Frankfurt at that time or not, but missing in the World Cup final.
Oh,
the save that Emi Martinez had. I
don't know in terms of politics. How?
Just like France national team is interesting, where like they hold grudges, and Deschamps loves to like bench players or not select players because
I think he's had quite a up and down time. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that miss was that bad. Like it was.
I think it was on target. It was just a great save.
Yeah, like he should have scored, and he probably or he could have squared it, but I just don't think it was that like.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Well, if there's anything you want to add on Spurs, we'll do our outro. Anything.
I hope we don't pull an English club in the round of 16. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, because we're cooked otherwise.
We're cooked.
I think we're cooked anyway, probably. It depends. I think there's certain teams that will set up very favorably for us, but it's a very specific type of team.
Yeah. And then I think that just in general, a lot of people are talking about relegation. I think it's fun to doom like that. But I'm looking at the remaining fixtures, and I assume Frank gets fired eventually, whatever interim new manager bounce, and the confidence that comes with that. We have some winnable games. But we do have some tough ones. I mean, besides the 4 that
get sacked, I don't.
You don't think he's going to last the whole season? You think?
I think he's going to go in the summer. I generally think that. Well, I'm just thinking like.
No, I know. I haven't even considered that.
Next is Frankfurt, right?
Yeah.
And then it's City.
It's City, United.
Okay, so if he loses, let's say he draws tomorrow, and he loses to City and he loses to United, I think he survives that. I genuinely do.
I don't know our process, so this season with Levy, like real quick before we sacked Levy, I was always confident, or not confident. I think that's the right word, but like that Levy was very reactionary to string of performances, unless especially when we get knocked out of multiple competitions domestically, mostly,
and when the fans turn, when the fans turn,
he was very reactionary that way. Now I just don't know what is the turning point for them to be like, yep, it's not working, because all of the signs are what Frank is saying in the media is what Vinay and Lang believe, which is we're playing well, the performances will come, and that may be true in certain games, but like we still have a good chunk of the season left. Like there's I think the stat was like we're 1 point closer to relegation than we are to top 4. It's like there's still
ground to be made
mountains.
up.
You know, we can still progress, and so it would be shocking to me if we did draw to Frankfurt and we lost to City, which I hope. You know, I don't hope we lose to City. I'm never gonna be that fan that cheers a loss, but like if we if we don't win those games, I don't see him staying, but I also don't know who we replace him with. It feels like they don't have a plan. So
should have just gone Carrick before United got him, but whatever.
Carrick. I mean, people. I love Kieran McKenna. I think he should be a summer
but
target
I don't
for
think,
us. But he's not leaving.
I think he'd take it on a permanent, even mid-season, but we'd have to promise him a long-term contract, which I don't think we'll do. The last thing that's stressing me out is the constant like Vinay. Well, I don't think they're not direct quotes, but Vinay gave Arteta time at Arsenal. So what kind of flipping logic is that? Like, because it worked with one manager that you worked with, you're now the messiah of giving managers time. Like, what? Like
the messiah of giving managers time.
Bro, it's just like, I'm so.
Someone should do a count of how many times we've rubbed our face in this.
No, it's just pod. Like, and like it's insane.
I'm so drained, man.
That's the Truman Show thing of like, that was the other thing I was gonna say. The mainstream media, the way they talk about him, especially in England, is like, that's the main Truman Show thing I'm thinking of. It's like I look at like Sky Sports and they're like, yeah, he's doing a good job. He's worked on set pieces. First of all, we've been shit from set pieces for flipping months now. Like we haven't our throw-ins are shit. We haven't scored from corners recently, have we? I don't know. But we concede from set pieces as well. Like, what's this? And like, there's that. They're like, yeah, he's fixed the defense. No, he hasn't. We concede all the time. They just don't watch us, and that's just the
everyone's gaslighting us. That's crazy.
The City game, I said I wasn't going to go to another game under Frank, but this one I'm going to go to because I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? We get smashed by City, Arsenal. They're close to Arsenal in the title race. Maybe Frank gets sacked. If we win, then like, cool, it's a win.
You could participate in the 75th minute walkout.
Is that happening? I didn't even see that.
I don't know. Knowing us, half the people are.
I might do that actually.
Yeah. All the comments were like, "Little do you know, I walk out at 65 anyways."
Yeah, but people will wait till 75 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're losing like 2-0, then actually that might actually happen.
I really hope so. I would love to see how the media reacts to that, because I think
that's the only thing. If the media will have to pick it up, won't they?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times when we do protest, they almost troll us.
Yeah,
like when we do Change for Tottenham outside the stadium, and they'll put some clips on Sky Sports, and it's not that they talk about it seriously, but it's never considered as a serious protest. And I think a walkout is about as serious as we can get right now.
Yeah. Quickly on Change for Tottenham, I really like the idea of protesting against the club. Like, I do think something needs to change. My issue with Change for Tottenham specifically is I don't think they're targeting the right problems for me, which is why I wouldn't probably go to a protest like that. In terms of, for me, in their protest is just like, just spend more money on the club. I don't think that's, one, I don't think that's the answer to even solving our problems, but two, I don't think that's the issue. In terms of on the pitch, I think the ticket prices thing, I'm fully on board with. Like, I think that's 100% an issue. But and I'm sure like people are there that don't fully agree with everything that they stand for. And I also rate the fact they're actually doing stuff that rather than just chatting about it online. Like, I do rate that. Yeah, but I think it needs to be more unified, and I think it needs to be more direct and less broad and less like kids whining, if that makes sense. Like, we want more play, we want more transfers. That's how it feels, and that's how it comes across to me. But like, that might be wrong, and I'm not fully clued up on that. But from what
when Levy was here, I think that was the messaging, which was a little bit more whiny about wages, and transfers. I think now they've realized that their angle should be ticket prices. Their angle should be
I'm fully on
the
board
philosophy of the club should embody Dare is to do. So I think that the messaging has changed recently since Levy left, and I like it. And I think that it's going to be really, I mean, now we're probably, you saw that poll, I forgot who put it out, but when, it's the most united I've seen this fan base in a really long time.
100%. Yeah.
We're going to argue about, passion merchants versus technical quality players. There's always going to be that divide, that generational divide that kind of segments us, but that's part of a fan base that you always have. And I think that now we're in this mode where like, we know the manager isn't good enough. We know our director of football operations or whatever his title is kind of, people could say he's an inside agent or whatever, but he clearly has a identity that isn't aligned with us. And then Lang, while probably a really good scout and talent ID, he just isn't a squad builder. And so just clearing that out and then in turn putting pressure on the Lewis family and Enoch to figure out what their next step is, whether they're selling or pivoting or pushing all of their chips on the table.
Do something like.
Yeah, I think that's the angle that they should approach, is like, we just need to clear house from the guys we have. We're all aligned in the fact that Frank isn't the guy to go forward. We know that we need to spend more money on wages and lower ticket prices. That's the angle that they got to take.
Yeah, that's fair.
It seems better than just Levy out, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think with it's weird because when Vinay first came in, communication from the club suddenly stepped up, and I was like, okay, I get how this is setting up. I get the structure. I get what your job is. Now it's just gone quiet again, and like no one has a clue what's going on.
They're just like the turtles. They're just going to their shell.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I cannot wait for this season to be over. I'm so excited. The World Cup as well, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just buzzing for that. Like, I can't. Hopefully, we'll get, like, you've seen what's happened with United. We'll get that little bounce with an interim manager, and like then you start believing again, and then the future looks bright again. I do think there's stuff to get behind. And at the moment, like, I'm loving Odebear's performances. Obviously, I put a video out about him on the right today. Tomorrow will be very interesting because obviously he's up against Brown, who's actually very capable defensively. So we'll see. Anyway, let's finish off on one thing you'd recommend to people.
Mm-hmm.
You go first.
I like the new Game of Thrones show. That's good on HBO.
It's not How to Train a Dragon. Not How to Train a Dragon.
No, it's the How to Train a Dragon. No, it's I think it's called Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Prequel or sequel?
It's a prequel. It's a series. I think it's short stories or a book that George R.R. Martin wrote that it isn't like heavy, like dark, twisted stuff. It's more like a comedy, and it's lighthearted. And it is, first two episodes were pretty entertaining. Not much happened, but like they're building the characters. I like that. But last night I decided to start my rewatch of Entourage. Have you ever seen that?
That rings Entourage. A bell. Henry said on the show, it's in between House of Dragon and Game of Thrones, 100 years before Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a connector between House of Dragons and Game of Thrones. You see some of the characters like kids or their fathers that you would know from each show. So it's interesting, and it's a whole different kind of. It's not about the houses, right? It's just about this knight and his forgot what they call them. The people
Jester.
that ride, not jester, medieval squire. Thank you, Henry. Thank you.
Henry just for that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
You know what's so much? So he just came up with this whole world himself, the writer.
Sci-fi writers are crazy,
What in the nerd? Like I rate it.
What in the nerd is right.
I love Game of Thrones, but like I'm just like, how do you just like you just sat there, you just wrote a whole world that's not real.
People out there are mad creative. They were like, world building is such an interesting concept in literature and cinema. Like people really spend time building a world that doesn't exist.
That's just
like that's so fun.
Like, yes, but there's like family trauma and there's like this, like it's just like, and it's just not true. Yeah, it's mad, but it's obviously sick. Like because I love those, like when you can escape into like another reality, not reality, like but like of another world. And the more nerdy and detailed it is, probably the better. Like
exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna recommend. Wait, you said Entourage? What's that?
Entourage is an old show from like it's an HBO show. Mark Wahlberg was the executive producer. He created the show that is kind of like his rise to fame in Hollywood, and it's about Hollywood and acting and getting roles, and it has like the most cameos of like famous people that you'll ever see in a show, like athletes, 50 Cent, like they'll just pop up in each episode.
What year was it? What year was it made?
I think it was like 2008. There was 5 seasons of it, and they made a movie. It's like 2008 to 2013, I want to say. But
So
I watched it.
Henry's added as his top 3 show of his.
Is it? Oh yeah,
and
no, it's
Tom
it's
Brady
class.
and Michael
Brady
Jordan.
has an episode. Michael Jordan's in it.
Okay.
They're like, it's a comedy, slash. Yeah, it's a comedy.
Yeah.
So it's just like 30-minute episodes about this entourage of friends that are from New York City that move out to LA because one of their friends is like a big movie star.
Okay.
And so it's about how they all make their own way in LA, while also not making their own way and being an entourage to a millionaire.
Oh, I see.
I've
always thought that's a sick, like, if one of my friends made it, like, you see how like when Neymar made it, like his whole team was just his friends, like he had like one guy was his manager, like his agent, and one guy was like he just had his friends around him. I think one guy just managed his social media. It's just like, it's so easy. That's what I would do. Okay, I'm gonna recommend. I've been watching Atlanta, which I know is quite famous, and like I'm quite late to the party, but I've always had it on my list, and I just like put it off, and now I'm just hooked on it.
Unreal, right?
So good, so good. It's so easy to watch as well, and I love the, like, normally I don't like the episode because this has episodes that like there'll be random spin-off episodes that like don't have anything to do with the plot, and normally they kind of annoy me in shows, but these ones are like, they're so good. So Atlanta like follows a up and coming rapper in Atlanta, and it's about the main guy, who is Donald Glover, who is a rapper in real life as well, is his manager but also his cousin, right? And it's just funny, and it's not just funny though. There's quite like there's a lot of deeper meaning to it, isn't there? But I just watched an episode. Obviously the whole first series is just like kind of set in Atlanta, and I'm on the 3rd series now, and they're going on tour in Europe. And there's one episode which is set in Dalston, which is literally like 10 minutes from my house. And I was like, and the episode opens and they're just on the high street. And like, obviously I'm just used to watching this show where they're in Atlanta. And suddenly they're just like literally around the corner of my house. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, and that episode was sick. Have you seen the whole thing?
No, I've only seen the first season. I love the first season. I gotta catch up on some shows.
Yeah, I think season 3 is probably my favorite so far.
Okay.
But yeah, check that out, guys. Yeah, we will be back next week. Hopefully on the back of a sacking. And I don't like to say that, but like genuinely I'm at that point now. Like, please, I'm really, really just waiting for that day. I hope he gets a payout and goes and enjoys his peaceful life like elsewhere.
Somewhere not in a top 5 league, please.
And he can like write his spreadsheets and set piece stuff elsewhere. Also, guys, should have said this at the start. Fuck. I've just launched my non-Spurs football page / brand. It's probably going to be like starting off of just like content stuff, but I want to build it into something bigger than that. Beyond 90. Sure, if you follow me on social media, you probably would have seen it because I'm reposting it everywhere, so I can try to push it. But please do subscribe to the YouTube of that as well. That's like more football content, more guests, a lot of guests some guests who've been on here will be on there. We've got John McKenzie coming on this week. Also a couple footballers / ex-footballers who I've got lined up, a couple people in music, because we kind of want to look at how football mixes with culture as well as the analysis stuff as well. So it's kind of a bigger project, so please do check that out. But yeah, we will be back next week on Lilywhite Lounge, and I think I've got a Vuskovic video coming out on YouTube this week, and yeah, hopefully we will be better than we are now soon. Gus, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Always a good time, Kish. Always a good time.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.